that's something I do is I'll just write dialogue until I'm blue in the face, and then I have to go back and cut it because I'm like, now am I just writing this for me? Like, is this just an exercise in seeing how authentic I can make it? Where is this taking the plot? If it's not taking the plot anywhere, it has to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where outlining comes in handy for me, is because, okay, I know I have to get from point A to point B. And even if it's smaller, obviously there's an outline for the entire script of, here's the beginning and here's the ending and how you're going to weave it together. But just even in a single scene, like if a character needs to go from one location to another location, how are you going to get them there? Um, and sort of figuring out how to keep things moving in a way that you're not spending too much time, especially with the mundane kind of elements of life and conversation. And that was one thing that took me so long to get over, was just introducing characters. Because when you're talking to somebody, you're like, oh, hi, what's your name? Oh, my name's this, what's your name? And how you don't have time for that in the script. You've got to get to the point and keep it moving. And so how to creatively introduce your characters to where they don't have to have those extra lines that are just exposition, basically.
Exposition. That is so true. Um, and it's fun to look at, really well done movies and see how they do that. I mean, and it's kind of amazing. If you do a lot of quick cuts, you can get a lot of stuff about your character in there without any words. I'm trying to think of a movie where that really happens. I guess Juno was a classic one, like immediately if someone is drinking like a whole thing of Sunny D, holding the handle, like walking around, like there you go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's a true, giving props to work with can sometimes be a really big character builder. And like I can always think of 30 Rock with the cheese balls that Tina Fey holds, and it's just become synonymous with Liz Lemon. And it's a silly prop. It has nothing to do with 99.9% of the show, but in that one moment, the cheese balls just made her character.
That is so true. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, your props, your set dressing. Um, think about Ron Swanson now.
Yes.
Correct. Like, I can't remember what his office looks like. Does he have all his like stuffed like
Or
taxidermy animals in
even
there?
Dwight Schrute with his bobblehead. I mean, just little things that make that character stand out. And it can be little things. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about screenwriting and playwriting is it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be cinematic Marvel size. You can make an incredible story by just challenging yourself to see what you can get away with, like stripped bare bones, like that low budget, like you're talking about. And that's, I mean, I did low budget films too. So that was always the challenge, is thinking, what are the least number of resources that I can make this work? So
Yes. And it's kind of amazing once you're in there doing it, how much you really can accomplish with hardly any budget. If you just like really have that, use your creativity. It's crazy how simple it can really be.
yeah. So part of the assignment for this period of the semester is my class has to write either a scene from a play or a scene from a screenplay, and kind of more like a skit length. So what advice would you give them as first time playwrights and screenwriters? What would you advise?
Oh, that's a great one. Um,
Or what advice would you wish you had known when you were starting out?
oh, when I was starting, oh gosh, I would say don't be too critical of yourself while you're writing. Like just write, and then there's plenty of time to criticize yourself later. don't, don't trip yourself up needlessly. Just go ahead and write. I've actually never done this, but I've been thinking about what a great exercise this would be. You could almost just go to a news source, like maybe just like a local news outlet, and see like a local story and create a fictional character. I mean, you know, you can always look at like the crime news if you want to write a thriller, or you could, if you want to write about, just something like a romance, you can just take like a human interest story and create, a romance around like their job or something, I mean, that could just, because that immediately drops you in with some specificity that you can work with and, begin creating good dialogue.
And like another example is just go somewhere public, whether a coffee shop or a mall or something, and pick two random people and do the same thing. Like if these two people met and had to talk to each other, what would they say? How would that unfold? But to keep that clear beginning, middle, and end distinction, because something has to happen. There has to be something to spur the meeting. And then there has to be a reason that, some kind of tension, conflict, and then something to wrap it up where, they either sort of have that romance moment where you think they're going to go together or they go their separate ways. So you got to think in beginning, middle, and end, I think, even if it is a short scene. But that's a great idea. I love that about just like picking something that already exists, because that helps drop you in the middle of the world to where you're not creating everything from zero. So I would encourage my students to go do that. Go find a place and pick something around you that you can work from.
Exactly. And then you can extrapolate. Like, I remember I was in a cafe in New York last year, and these two guys were talking about how this one guy wanted to ask his coworker on a date, but there was never the right moment to do it. And the guy was like, man, you just gotta find your moment. And the guy was like, there just never is a moment. And I thought, well, then you could write that, fictionally. And then you could write moments in the office where he never has a moment to ask her, or they're at the bottom of the stairs or the escalator. And
oh yeah, and the phone rings or somebody else gets on the elevator, or there's always, even a character not getting what they want can be a good story.
Because it's so relatable.
Oh, I know.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, I have so enjoyed talking to you about this, and I'm so excited about all the projects you have coming out. I cannot wait to see Thin Slicing. Please send it to me when it's ready to view. And thank you again for just agreeing to talk to my class. I hope they've enjoyed this as much as I have.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I hope you guys enjoy it.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording, and class, be working on your either short play or screenplay.